All right, as promised, I am back with the students. They are the heart and soul of everything that happens here at Stanford. And so we're going to have a little Q&A that I hope you will find interesting. And I'll start by just asking maybe Maria, who's at the end here, why don't you tell us a little bit about the research that you do and why Stanford is the right place to do this?
Yeah, so my name is Maria. I'm in my last year of the MD PhD program, the fastest 8 years ever. And I'm doing HIV vaccine research in Peter Kim's lab. So I'm specifically looking at how you can target the fusion intermediate of the virus as a potential way to develop a new vaccine. And like you were saying earlier in your talk, I think there are many reasons why Stanford is the best place for this. Number one, my advisor is an incredible pioneer in his field who understands the protein biochemistry of this better than I would say anyone else. Two, as you mentioned, is that there's a pipeline here of people trying to turn scientific advances into medical advances. And even though the research I'm doing is still a little bit early stage, you're thinking ahead of what does this need to really get to patients and get all the way into the hospital. And so that has been incredible.
And Santiago, why don't you tell us about your research and also why Stanford is the place?
Yeah, so I'm in Stephen Artondi's lab, and we study telomeres and telomerase. And I'm in the 5th year of my PhD now, so I'm in the middle of my project, but we're working on developing new ways to measure telomeres, which are this like DNA sequence at the end of all linear chromosomes that shorten progressively as cells divide and as we age. And especially in certain aging-related diseases or cancer, it's important for cells to reactivate a way to elongate telomeres like the enzyme telomerase that we study. And this problem is so fundamental to all of cancer. Every cell that wants to be immortal needs to solve this problem. So that really drew me to that. And when I was choosing Stanford, I think that one of the things that drew me here to choose as a place to study for my MD PhD is that the community here is really tight-knit. So even though we have a big impact as a university, we're not really that many people. And when I need a world expert in something, I can go down the hall and ask a question. Or I've done a lot of experiments with friends in other PhD programs, and I feel that has been a really cool experience that's made the work more rewarding. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Tanya, tell us about your work and why Stanford was the place you chose.
Yes, so I am in the 4th year of my MD PhD now, starting the 2nd year of my PhD. And so I work in the lab of Paul Kavari, who's in the audience, doing work on colorectal cancer risk and how it is influenced by environmental stimuli. And so this work was really inspired because I grew up, being interested in science journaling, and I sort of started to become interested in stem cell biology and really this idea of like how do sort of intrinsic cell factors like DNA interact with extrinsic factors to drive disease, like cell biology and disease. And I think one thing that I noticed was missing is that we're always kind of talking about the surface level factors rather than sort of going up a level and thinking about, what are the things that people are exposed to on a day-to-day that can actually affect the way that their cell biology and diseases manifest. And so what I'm working on right now is in the context of colorectal cancer, thinking about, we have all these mutations that are very common in the population that confer different degrees of risk for colorectal cancer. And what we don't know is how these mutations are actually influenced by the environments that people are exposed to on a day-to-day. So I study metabolites that are associated with a high fiber diet and a high fat diet to see how sort of the manifestation of these variants differs depending on what your environment is. And this is sort of really influenced by this larger quest that I have for understanding how do people's lived experiences affect their disease pathophysiology. And that's the kind of work that I want to continue doing. And so I really feel that Stanford is the perfect place for this, both on the research side. I mean, Stanford Genetics is just a bonanza of, brilliant people, brilliant ideas who are really willing to and eager to drive genetics research forward. And then I think also the people that I've met, both the faculty and the students, just brilliant minds, interdisciplinary minds who really just want to drive this kind of work forward, drive genetics work forward, drive society forward. And that's why I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. And since you're studying fiber and fat in the diet, maybe you'll add peanut M&Ms to your repertoire. Wonderful.
In the clinical trials.
Great. Excellent. Don't tell me the outcome. I don't want to know. This is really exciting. You're working on such a breadth of interesting and very important biomedical problems. One thing I've experienced in my 8 years at Stanford is I really truly feel that this environment has changed me as a scientist. And the theme of the evening is Gamechangers. So let me ask the next question back to Maria. Do you feel that Stanford has changed your game? And if so, how?
I think Stanford built my game because I was here for undergrad and I've been here so now 11 years. And I think how it changed my game as a scientist, especially being in Peter's lab, is that you really learn the importance of the basics. Like so many of our lab meetings is back to the whiteboard and you're drawing an equilibrium and you're trying to understand fundamentally at the most molecular, deepest level, how is this happening? And I think Stanford really puts that scientific rigor into your bones when you come out of here as a scientist. And then the other thing that I think is worth mentioning, because this is Frontiers of Medicine, is that the clinical training here is absolutely amazing. I've done 1 out of my 2 clinical MD years so far. And the confidence that you come out of Stanford with as, starting your intern year as a young doctor, I think it's amazing how good the clinical training is. And I'm so excited that now at the end, I feel like I've stepped into my own as a scientist and I'm starting to step into my own as a clinician. So that's incredible.
Your patients are very lucky. And Santiago, take yourself back in your head to the moment you arrived at Stanford and then fast forward to today. And has Stanford changed your game?
No, for sure. I mean, I actually came in as an MD-only student, and I transferred into our MD-PhD program. So first, I'm really grateful Stanford gives students the opportunity to do that. But one of the things that I think makes that possible and attractive is that you're really deeply embedded in a culture of science as being the driver of medicine and medical innovation. And when I told people in undergrad that I wanted to be a physician scientist, it was like a weird thing to do. It was like, well, that's 2 jobs. You have to want one.
We can't.
And now I'm surrounded by lots of people who are physician scientists or want to be physician scientists. It's really great to be in that culture, and I don't think I would be able to have a vision for my future career that would be the same without that opportunity. Yeah.
That's a great story. And then, Tanya, has your game been transformed by Stanford University?
Yes, absolutely. I think one thing that I've noticed in particular about Stanford is just how much it, maybe not demands from, but I think just respects the intelligence and the things that students have to contribute to this space. I mean, even just like being able to sit here and talk to a Nobel laureate about what kind of game
M&Ms.
So, I mean, since I've been here, I think that, on the medicine side, I think that there's just been a lot of work that I've been able to do in terms of, bringing like health disparities work into the curriculum and like really being able to engage with faculty, and staff in the School of Medicine in order to just sort of drive that work forward, especially in the light of, the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020. And then I think on the scientific side, just being able to, again, like be in a genetics program as strong as Stanford and being able to collaborate with like huge faculty to do like my genomic screens and just really try to think of problems on a high throughput level in a way that I hadn't really been able to do before coming to Stanford, I think really just speaks to the strength of the research here at Stanford. And I think it's just been really incredible to be involved and grow as a scientist within this community.
Fantastic. And I can say that, and I think the audience will agree with me, that we are so privileged to have such brilliance at such a young age where there's so much impact yet to be made by you all. So I, for one, will be cheering you on as you take all of us forward into the future and change the game for all of us. So with that, please join me in thanking these brilliant students for sharing their stories.
The preceding program is copyrighted by the Board of Trustees of the Leland Stanford Junior University. Please visit us at med.stanford.edu.